Welcome to Power, Purpose, Passion, the podcast. We are really excited to introduce to you Anthony Cheam. He has spent almost 20 years in the fitness and health industry and has gone on to transition into life coaching and is now a motivational speaker, author of the ABCs of Life and You 2.0, as well as working on courses and much more. Here he is, Anthony Cheam.
All right. Hey, Anthony, what's up?
Cameron, what's going on? Nice to see you again. I'm ready for another episode.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. We kind of missed a week there, but, you know, we're all busy. We're all working on a lot of things. I know you said you had another book going in the last episode?
I actually just finished it. So I've been writing a lot lately, just getting a lot of thoughts. You know, the third book is based on just fundamentals of impacting your physiology, your body, your health. You know, when I started my career as a trainer, and I kind of segued into life coaching and speaking and writing and life coaching, all that stuff. That's what made the difference in my energy levels, in my performance. More than anything, it was the physiology. I mean, that's a fundamental teaching principle practice of Tony Robbins, who's one of my heroes, of course. He talks about physiology is the gateway through which we interpret all information. So at the end of the day, if we don't take care of our body, we can't be a vessel through which all the creative inspiration and genius can flow through us. So it says, if the body is weak, spirit is willing, but the body's weak, right? So you got to have a vessel that you take care of. So I truly believe that the energy that I possess, sure, I'm an extroverted, passionate person, but I certainly wouldn't be as passionate, as energetic, and enthusiastic as I am today if it were not for physical fitness and health, nutrition, meditation principles, all these things that integrate us into a human being and makes us superhuman, so to speak. And this is what I teach on a daily basis. This is what I study. This is what I want to learn and teach and give to the world. So yeah, it's great, man. Looking forward to that third book. I still haven't even released my second book yet, but it's being published right now, and I'm excited about it. So
and that's the You 2.0, right? The one that's getting
that's published? The You 2.0. Yeah, and that's a full integration of how you can really upgrade your life on multiple levels, regardless of what area you want to upgrade or enhance or you want to get better in. It really doesn't matter. And a lot of the principles and practices I teach in this book are very, very simplistic stuff. Some esoteric stuff, but I want to simplify it for the most of the world. So it's exciting news. So
awesome. Okay, so we actually have a really cool topic today, and it's
okay. Looking forward to it. Fire away.
Okay, so a bunch of my friends and people I've met, they always want something more for their life. They always want to be more and do more and see more, but they are kind of scared. Subconsciously they're sitting there and they don't. I don't know. They're just afraid of what's going to come because they're not sure exactly what it is, and they like that certainty of being safe and knowing that, hey, at the end of the day, I have a meal and a nice bed and a cozy. You know what I mean? They're kind of comfortable where they are. How do you overcome that fear of not knowing what's next? That fear of not wanting to escape your comfort zone?
It's interesting, I could speak about this all day. This is a primary issue with most of the world. I mean, most of the world is addicted to mediocrity because mediocrity is basically just being comfortable most of the time. And there's a great saying that I remember hearing about 12, 13 years ago when I first started my career in life coaching and coaching, taking my life to the next level was, there's no growth in your comfort zone, no comfort in your growth zone. So, and you know what? I remember one of my clients who's a CEO, very successful man on multiple levels, family man, healthy. He lost 40 pounds, 50 pounds. He was overweight. But anyways, he's very successful financially, businessman. Anyways, I remember hearing him say something to me a long time ago, and I remember him saying, people at the end of their life, they don't necessarily regret the things they do, they regret the things they don't do. And you can actually use that as a leverage factor when fear shows up. I mean, I love what Tony Robbins says. 99% of the time, if you make a decision based on fear, it's probably the wrong decision. Now, the other 1% is if you're being attacked by a lion or a bear or you see a red stove. Sure, I mean, those are natural things. I mean, it's a natural human instinct to have certain fears. But when the fear is controlling you or keep preventing you from becoming the best possible version of yourself, keeping you from your dreams, then is probably it's stifling you, paralyzing you as a result of, because again, what essentially happens, we all reach this level of emotional threshold in our life where we can only take so much, and when it's too fearful, we end up going to what's comfortable, which is why most of our society is addicted to food, drugs, alcohol, whatever it may be, because when it gets too fearful or too overwhelming, people go, it's too much, too stressful. Guess what happens? They go reach for what's comfortable, to immediately change their state, change their physiology, change their mindset to bring them back to a world where it's comfortable. Now, here's the biggest factor. I think, in my estimation, in my own study of it, in my own experience, is this: you have to find something greater than the fear itself. Whatever it is you're fearing, you have to find something you value more than the fear. So I'll give you an example of this. I use this at seminars all the time. If I say to someone randomly in the audience or randomly coaching somebody, I'll say, okay, how many people in here could, by show of hands, could right now run a full marathon, 42.2 kilometers from here, well, from where I am, Burlington to Toronto, right now in their attire? And unless you're a marathon runner, most people go, there's no way. There's no way I can do that. Just not a single hand goes up. Very rarely do I get someone that just puts up their hand and goes, yeah, well, I run marathons. I would actually try it. And then I get the rare, optimistic person that goes, you know what, I would certainly try. And so most of the 99% of the people, majority of the people, won't say yes. And then I'll throw in something like a curveball. I'll say, okay, I'll get someone from the audience and I'll say, okay, sir, what is your name? John. Great. John, do you have any kids? Great. How old are they? 7 and 5 years old. Okay, what if I said to your kids, your father John's going to run a marathon right now? What do you think they'd say? They'd probably go, oh my gosh, there's no way he'd do it. He's out of shape. He's overweight. He's never ran more than a kilometer. And then I add this to the equation. I say, okay, if I grabbed your kids, both your kids, put my arm around their heads, pulled out a gun and put it through their head, and I said, now run a marathon, or your kids are going to die. All of a sudden, the guy goes, I asked him, what do you do? He goes, I guess I'm running a marathon. And then I say, whoa, hold on a second here. 2 seconds ago, you were certain, and that's the word you use, certain that you couldn't. And all of a sudden, you find a way to do it. You're certain you can do it. Why? Because there's enough pain. You value something more than the fear of the pain of running the marathon. And then I add something else to the equation. I say, okay, imagine at the end of 42.2 kilometers, I guaranteed to deposit $10 million into your bank account. What do you do? And every seminar, everyone's hand goes up and goes, when did we start? And all of a sudden they go, whoa, wait a second. What changed? And they go, the goal changed. No, the goal did not change. The goal stayed the same. The goal was 42.2 kilometers. Now you have, the difference is you now have a $10 million reason to do it. So you find something you value more than the fear, more than the pain, and you will break through. I promise you, everyone has that sort of leverage point to make a difference, to make a change in their life. If it's strong enough, if you don't find that leverage point, guess what? Because, most people come to me, I want to lose 50 pounds. Well, why do you want to lose that? Well, I'm sick and tired of being tired. I'm overweight and, whatever. And it's like, wow, what are the chances of that guy or woman, whatever, falling through on a weight loss program? Very nil, because he hasn't found something that inspires him, that drives him, that he's hungry for, that he's starving for, to make it happen, regardless of the fear, regardless of the rejection, regardless of the failure. You're gonna whatever journey you're on, you're gonna face failure, you're gonna face opposition, you're gonna face opponents, you're gonna face rejection after rejection. I faced it. But you gotta find something that's greater than the rejection, greater than the pain, greater than anything that's might stop you from going forth and moving forward towards your dreams. I love there was a great audio I was listening to with Les Brown, and he talked about how when he was a kid, he was selling these TVs door to door, like these big, massive TVs, the tube TVs, black and white, Emerson's, right? And he said, he'd go knock on the door and say, hi, would you like to buy some new TVs? And they'd slam the door on his face, or they'd say, what are you doing here? Get out of my face, right? Most people, 95% of the people, would walk away, go, I don't like to be rejected. So a bunch of his friends who were selling the TVs, they were like, no, I don't want to do that. But you see, he explained this. He said, all my friends, and this is him saying it, all my friends had a home to go to. They had food on the table. He said, if I didn't sell 3 TVs, I did not eat that evening. That'll provide a good motivation for you to sell some TVs that night. If you don't eat that night, trust me, you're going to find a way to sell those TVs, and he sold 3 TVs. So the pain was, okay, the rejection, people slamming door, yelling at him, telling him to get off his property. That was less than the pain of not eating or feeding his mother that took care of him and his brothers or his whole family. So you have to find that, which is why, guys, people that are listening, you know, there was a statistic a long time ago, I think it was about 10 or 20 years ago, that said people that move to North America have a 4 times more likeliness to become millionaires than people that are born in the States or in Canada. And the reason why is because a lot of, and my dad came from poverty. He came from a pretty bad place, you know, left a war-torn country, never saw his parents again after he left at 17. But the point is, when you leave a country that's impoverished and you move to a country like the United States or Canada, all of a sudden you got all this opportunity, and you kind of go, wait a second, I don't want to go back there. I want to stay here. I'm going to make the most of my life here, which is why, you know, a lot of my clients who are foreigners, who are immigrants, a lot of them are very successful financially and on multiple levels. So going back to the fear factor, establish what it is you truly want. And Cameron, let me ask you this question. Are people more focused on what they fear or on what they truly want?
Absolutely the fear. Not gonna lie, yeah.
Okay, and where focus goes, Tony Robbins says, energy flows. If you're focused on the fear, you're going to feel the fear. Even if you're sitting in bed and you're focused on, I fear getting in a car accident. If you were to close your eyes right now and focus on, with clear and vivid detail, on getting in a car accident on the highway going 100 kilometers an hour, your body's going to respond as if you are feeling, as if you are experiencing a car accident. You know, there's that great saying that says, you know, a coward dies 1,000 times, a courageous man dies only once. And what that basically means is this: a coward basically dies every second they're thinking about what might happen. You know, the fear of rejection, or the fear of failure, or the fear of losing their home, or the fear of losing their job, or the fear of dying, or whatever it is. Whatever it is. You know, the courageous guy goes, you know what? 95% of the fears that we worry about or we were concerned about never happen. So if it happens, I'll take the gut hit if it happens. But until it does, I'm just going to keep on moving forward towards my goals. Because the reality is, when I ask people this question, what would make your life absolutely abundant? What would make your life absolutely abundant? What would make your life better? What would you truly be passionate about? You know, what would make your life 10 times better than it is now? What do you truly want in life? What do you want to give to life? What do you want to achieve? And then they start focusing on everything they want to achieve, every place they want to travel to, the people they want to meet, the contributions they want to make. And all of a sudden, their eyes light up, their body changes, their state changes, and because they're focusing on what they want, all of a sudden they're in a different mindset, a different physiology, which then catapults them to proactive action towards that dream, which is why it's so important every single day to read your goals, focus on your goals 3-4 times a day. I'm talking like read it, put it on a wall, meditate on it before you go to sleep, upon waking up, read your goals, and close your eyes. One of the best ways to counteract the fear is imagine as if you've already achieved the goal that you want. Right? So let's say let's say you want $1 million, and imagine you close your eyes and you have $1 million. You look online and you see your bank account and it's $1 million. Let's just use that as an example. And all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, what would you do with that $1 million? What's the first thing you do with that $1 million? And then all of a sudden people get excited, like, oh my God, I would pay off my debt. I would go buy a nice car. I'd go buy a nice house. I'd go give it to charity, whatever it is. And imagine if you did that 3 times a day. And you then anchored that feeling as if you're already a millionaire inside your body, inside your mind. You're going to move in that direction. It's just simple science. Where focus goes, energy flows. Wherever you're focused, that's where you're going to move towards. Where if you're focused on your fear, you're going to move towards where? Towards what you fear, and you're going to feel it. And your mind, your subconscious mind, because you're focused on it, you're going to notice everything that relates to that fear. So if you fear dying, okay, I fear dying, I'm fear dying. All of a sudden your subconscious mind goes, okay, focus on dying. Everything becomes, oh my God, is this person gonna, or is this person gonna hit me, or am I gonna die of cancer, or am I gonna die? You're just gonna walk in total fear, and you're gonna be paralyzed and terrified, and you're not gonna be able to move. And so that's why it's so important for me every morning, and before I go to sleep, I focus on what I want. That is greater than my pain, greater than my fear.
I couldn't agree more, man. Ever since I started really focusing on the outcome that I want, the fear kind of disappears. You don't even think about it. It's like in the back of your head that's not even there, because you're more focused on just the good that's going to come from it. Kind of like the $10 million in your bank account. You're really, really focused on that, and you're like, I'm up for whatever. I'm not really afraid of anything because I know that that's what I truly want. I'm kind of willing to do what it takes to get there.
Sure. And you know what, too? I think, if you look at fear itself, what is the opposite of fear? If you were to say to me.
Gratitude.
Okay, yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah, gratitude would be a good antidote to fear. But I think even greater than that is, and many people go to me, how can I be courageous when there's so much fear? And then my answer to that is, that's the only time you can be courageous, is when there's tons of fear happening. I mean, courage isn't just necessarily doing the right thing. It's doing the right thing even in the presence of fear. So the fear, it's an acronym for fear, false evidence appearing real, or another way of saying is forget everything and run, because you just forget everything and I'm just going to run away from the fear. But the fear just only gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it starts to catch up to you, and then it just starts running your life. The question is, as Deepak Chopra says, listen, is fear using you, or are you using your fear? Think of fear of this way. Think of fear as the necessary character weights, resistance, that you need to push against or pull against for you to sculpt your character or courage muscles, right? So if there's a certain fear, you literally have to, the reality is when you get fearful, what happens to your body?
You get like sweaty sometimes. You kind of get tense, I've noticed.
Yeah, that's the key.
Yeah.
You can't get relaxed. And one of the ways to break that fear pattern is to break the physiology. So you can go into a power breathing. So you can start doing the and then literally charge your body so it literally like it swallows up the fear. Literally, because fear is really not an emotion. It's more of a behavior. We do fear, we do love, we do happiness. So when I ask someone, I go, how do you do fear? And they go, what do you mean by that? Well, show me how your body is when you're fearful. And they kind of go, they get tense, and oh my God, I don't know what to do. And then what I'll do is I'll jolt them, and I'll look at them and I'll say, just stand straight, stand as tall as possible, breathe as heavy, breathe in, and now tell me 5 things you're grateful for and why. 5 things you're absolutely grateful for. Tell me 5 things, and all of a sudden I'll break the pattern and I'll go, oh, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that, I'm grateful. Why are you grateful? Because man, I just love my wife, I love my kids, I love my health, I love God, whatever it is. And all of a sudden I go, where's the fear now? And they go, oh my God, it's gone. It's gone. And then I go, again, you change your physiology, you change your focus, and you change your language, which is basically what the basis of what Tony Robbins teaches is the triad, which is focus, physiology, and language. You change any one of those things, if you change all 3, focus, physiology, and language, then you will literally make a radical shift in how you feel, where you're focusing, your body, and where you will go.
Yeah.
So that is everything. State is everything.
Yeah. As an example, like I noticed last night, actually, I was hanging out with some friends, and one of my friends got hiccups, and the other friend just started talking to her. He was just like, oh, hey, you owe me money, right? She's like, I owe you money? What? And then and then they went into this whole conversation where they just talked about this money, and she's like, oh, okay, yeah. By the end of it, she's like, yeah, I'll get you $14. He's like, where's your hiccups? She's like, what do you mean? Oh my God, hiccups are gone. So I totally get that.
That's a great break. That's a pattern interrupt. That's fantastic. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's proven, I guess.
Well, no, the reality is, Cameron, the reality is, a lot of people that fear failure or fear not being good enough. You know what the 2 primary fears humans have above all? The 2 biggest ones?
I have no idea.
Well, those two fears, fear of not being loved and fear of not being enough. And they're both coincide with each other. Like we all, I don't care if you're Tony Robbins or Mother Teresa or Jesus Christ, I don't care who it is, we've all felt less than, not good enough. You know what I'm saying? And we've all felt like, oh my God, lonely. We're like, okay, because really, what is the emotion of loneliness? If I were to ask you, Cameron, if you ever felt lonely, what would you have to believe in order to feel like you're lonely? What would you have to believe in order to feel like you're...
To feel lonely, you'd probably have to believe that there's no one there for you. There's no one there to, like, basically, there's no connection with people. There's no love there, right?
Is that true in your life? Is that true in your life?
No, never.
Oh, so do you ever feel lonely?
No.
Okay, and that's exactly it. So when people go into self-pity and loneliness, they go, oh, I feel lonely, no one's there for me. And I usually ask them, like, no one's there for you? Is it true that, honestly, in order to feel the emotion of loneliness, what would you have to believe? That no one's there? And now I'll ask them, I'll say, okay, is that true? Is it true that there's no one there for you? Is it true that it's possible that you could actually ask someone to help you with this problem in your life? A boss, a friend, a mother, a brother, whatever it is. And they're like, yeah. So the question is not really that you're lonely, is why is loneliness, why are you indulging in loneliness? Because it's meeting your needs at some level. At some level, you actually like being lonely. It actually meets your needs at some level. And the reality is to go even deeper than the loneliness itself. What you're really saying at some level, this not necessarily goes for everybody, but loneliness is actually a trigger of saying to connect with yourself and to give yourself permission to eat, to give yourself permission to go and do drugs, to give yourself permission to watch TV. That's basically what it is, saying, oh, I'm lonely, I'm going to go eat chocolate, or I'm going to go drink wine, or I'm going to go do drugs, or I'm going to go on my Facebook and sit there and play whatever, video games. You know, and not to say those things are bad, but when you're using them and they're the only means to meet your needs, only vehicle you use to meet your needs, I promise you, it becomes destructive rather than constructive. There's nothing wrong with chocolate. There's nothing wrong with wine. But when you use them to cope and to run away from something, then yeah, on a consistent basis, then it can get destructive long term, no doubt.
So what do you have to say about the fear of loss? Like, kind of like when something's a scarce resource, you really want it really badly. Like, what do you have to say about that?
You know what? Fear of loss is actually illusion. And the reason why I say that is when someone says they've lost something, what have they lost? Like, I'll give you an example of this. When I lost my best friend in a car accident at age 16, and he was hit by a car, and literally next day I got a phone call from his sister. He got hit by a car. Where is he? She told me that he died. I'm like, whoa, it's massive shock, right? So, and my therapist that I went to see at the time, he said, you know, is it true the body of your best friend is gone? But close your eyes for a moment. I want you to picture him in front of your face. Is he gone? If you wanted to speak to your best friend, could you speak to him? And I said, yeah. And I said, like, you literally close your eyes. And I remember hearing Deepak Chopra a few years later. He said, you know, the idea of loss, it's like this. When someone dies, it's like if you and I were, okay, for perfect example, if you and I are talking through Skype or Google Hangout or whatever it is, and the line gets cut off, the internet connection gets cut off, are you still on the other end and I'm still on the other end?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just, and Deepak, I love what Deepak does. He says, you know, only certain lines of communication have been interrupted. Their body might be extinct or gone, expired, but the essence of their spirit is still there. So we use that fear of loss. Oh my gosh, I've lost this, I've lost that. You haven't really lost anything. Again, it comes back to where you're focusing on. If you're focusing on everything you've lost in your life, or everything that's bad in your life, or if you're focusing on all your liabilities, or everything you're not good at, like, I'll give you an example of this. There are 100,000 jobs out there, Cameron, that I'm not good at, right? Could you imagine if I focused on the 100,000 jobs I'm not good at? Oh, I'm not good at, I'm not a heart surgeon, so I must be a failure. Oh, I can't fly a plane, so I must be a failure. I can't do this. And I focus on all the 100,000 jobs that I'm not doing. Would I feel successful? No. But I'm going to focus on everything I'm good at and everything that's going to take to make that skill, that ability, that whatever that is in my life to make it better. And you know what? When someone asks me, you know, can you do this? I was like, I'm not so sure. What do you mean you don't know? Well, because I've never actually tried it before. So that's the right attitude. If someone asks you, have you ever played, the bongos before or the drums, and you've never done it before, you should say, well, I've never tried it. Rather than say I can't, you've never attempted it. So don't ever say you can't do something, because as soon as you say you can't, then your brain says, well, I guess you can't. It's like that saying that says, Henry Ford, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, either way you're right. So you got to get in this mindset, this physiology, this focus, this language pattern, because here's the reality, Cameron. What really hypnotizes people into becoming volunteer victims or becoming a slave to their fear, what the reality is they have a certain pattern that they go into, a pattern of language, a pattern of focus, and a pattern of physiology that they go into that puts them in that state of fear, and then they just literally just go into the corner. They literally just they run away. So the first thing for your audience I would suggest is break the pattern. Notice that the pattern that's happening, wait, I'm getting fearful. Acknowledge the fear. Don't deny it. Acknowledge it, and then you got to put yourself in a resourceful state using power moves. If you notice I'm talking very passionately and very strongly to your audience. Could you imagine if I was speaking to your audience, I'm like, all right, we're going to talk about power, purpose, passion today, guys, and this is what we're going to do. I just thought I'd really inspire you guys to do everything you can to make your dreams come true. And then for the next 100,000 hours, we're just gonna sit and sing Kumbaya all day. It's just not gonna happen. Like, you got to be able to. Tony Robbins says this: speak that which you wish to become. Speak it. Don't just go, I want this. You say, no, I want this. I want this outcome. I want this to happen. You notice I'm using my physiology. I'm using my body. I'm using my language. I'm using my focus. This is what I want, and I'm clear about it. I'm clarified about it. I'm purified, and I'm ready to go. And you got to be able to turn yourself on literally in a dime. When fear shows up, who shows up? It's like, I love the example of this. Okay, if a tiger were to show up in your life, all of a sudden a tiger shows up in your house, and your best friend is behind you, and the tiger hasn't eaten for 7 days, and the tiger's salivating out the mouth, and he's looking at your best friend. In fact, he's looking at your best friend's kid, who's a baby, let's say, and that tiger's about to pounce on that baby. Now you have two choices. You either run like hell, which you're probably not going to do, be able to outrun a tiger, or you sit there and fight, right? So in order to fight, and conjure up the courage, what's the first thing you have to do, Cameron, if you were to face a tiger?
First of all, physiology, I guess, right?
Yeah. So how would you stand?
Tall. As tall as possible.
As tall, and you literally get in a strong, powerful adrenaline pumping. You're like, all right, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die I'm gonna hurt this tiger, right?
And I've had dreams of this, and you know how dreams feel so real. I had a dream that I was being chased by a gorilla, and I was just ready to face this gorilla, man. It was crazy. So it makes sense. The adrenaline in your body would just kind of push you towards that, almost automatically.
Sure. In fact, let's do a quick example of this, Cameron. Imagine I want you to stand as if you were a warrior, and the movie The Gladiator. Have you seen the movie The Gladiator?
Yeah.
Okay, remember Maximus? That guy, right? So imagine you're Maximus and you're giving a speech to your army about to go into battle. You're either Maximus or Achilles or whatever. You're a guy from Game of Thrones or what? It doesn't matter. And you're about to give a speech right before they go into battle. How would you stand?
Shoulders up, right?
Yeah. And how would you speak to me? And speak as if you're that warrior. Speak as if you're Maximus or whoever warrior, whatever metaphor you want to use. If you were to say to your troops and inspire them into battle, I want you to say it as if you're speaking to your troops. Go.
Right now. Okay.
Do it.
So, okay. Oh, man. I'm not good at speaking loudly.
That's okay. But again, you're going into battle.
Yeah.
You're about to march. Or remember the movie 300? Remember Leonidas?
Yeah, that's intense.
300 men. How did he speak? How did he
was crazy. He used everything he possibly could to just yell as loud as he could,
And what do they do after their speech? They go, ah! Right? And they scream, right?
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
But that's exactly it. So to your audience, as silly as it sounds, I want you to, when fear shows up, you literally got to stand in front of the fear, acknowledge the fear, face the fear, stand as if you're a warrior, and literally, like, anytime I feel
yell
like,
in its face.
sorry?
Just yell in fear's face? Is that?
Literally, you got to charge yourself, because what reality is, if you don't, guess who wins? The tiger shows up, and guess who dies? Your dreams.
Mm-hmm. And at
right?
the same time, like that happens in sports too. You see a sports team get together, huddle up, and then they just like, oh, like ready to go, you know, in the football field.
Exactly.
So,
it's, it's like that one story. The guy, the general or the commander said to his troops, and as the boat is going into the island, he says to his captain, listen, burn the boats. He goes, burn the boats? What do you mean burn the boats? He goes, how are we going to get back? He goes, the only way we're going to get back is if we win this war. And that'll give you some motivation. The only way we're going to win this war and get back to your family is if we win this war. So burn the boats, says you as you enter the island. So the idea, really what I do when fear shows up, and I have it too. I have fear of not being good enough, and I have this one part of me that shows up, Cameron, and it's probably shows up for everyone on the planet. This inner cynic that says, you're a fraud, or you're not good enough, or who are you, that questions, who are you to be speaking about what you're speaking about? You haven't done enough. You haven't achieved enough. And I literally have to stand up in the face of that inner cynic, in the face of that inner critic, and say, and literally yell, and literally get like, and like literally get like a warrior state. And once I put myself in that warrior state, it literally shifts everything. And because I've changed my physiology, I become more resourceful. Guess what happens? I literally collapse that fear, and I move in the direction of my dreams.
that's awesome. I love that. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up soon. So is there any last words you have to say about this whole thing about fear, how to get out of it, how to condition yourself to be this courageous person who will take those risks to get what you want?
Well, okay. So if there was a 3-step process, I would say clarify what it is you want. You gotta be clear about what it is you want with total clarity, total focus, and you gotta get emotional about it. Number 2, you gotta put a plan together, whether either mentally or written down, that says when the fear shows up, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit and do the same thing over and over again? Right? Or are you going to stand up, change your physiology, break the pattern, and become more resourceful? And then step 3, I would say, in terms of conditioning it, do it even in the times when you don't feel like doing it. So do it first thing in the morning, do it at midday, doing it at nighttime. And as silly as it sounds, I do this. I'll scream and yell, and I'll change my physiology. You've seen me do it in seminars. People have seen me do it just in live audiences where I'm just getting really charged or breathing really heavy to change my state. And so that's what I would suggest most people to do. And the reality is this. The second part of this, I will end here, is if you should then feel like you're a slave to your fear and you feel like you failed when you felt, oh, God, I should have done that, don't beat yourself up. Forgive yourself. Understand there's another day, there's going to be another opportunity to challenge this fear again in the face of fear. But again, the worst thing you can do is beat yourself up, because then it reinforces the fear that the fear has power over you each and every single day. So if you do tend, and I do this too, I've done it before, I still tend to fall into those lapse into self-pity and pity parties. But if you do, get out of it, acknowledge it, feel the fear, forgive yourself, investigate what was happening when you did fail, plan ahead, and then practice it while you're in that state of total resourcefulness. Because the reality is there, Cameron, the reality is if you can bring more resources to where you're a place where you're not resourceful, like in a place of fear, that's when change happens. That's truly when change happens. When you bring resources to a place of unresourcefulness, and you literally condition it into your body and your mind, things change.
Absolutely. All right, thank you. This was an
You're
awesome
very welcome.
episode. Thanks for everyone who tuned in live. I have not checked any comments or anything, but I will after this. So that's awesome. Thank you very much, Anthony, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks there, Cameron. Have a great day, my friend.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Power, Purpose, Passion, the podcast. If you've received any value from this podcast, please leave a review on iTunes. It would help us tremendously to get on the new and noteworthy and to share Anthony's message with even more people. For more information, go to anthonycheam.com or implicitentertainment.com, and all the info should be there. So thank you again. We'll see you next week. Thank you.